So this was something interesting, playing with the dyno that we had found. Just a little test with these Feuling vented dipsticks. We're gonna take a walk into the dyno room and I'll explain. Sorry for the non-focus and walking around, but this was something that was pretty interesting. We put a Feuling vented dipstick on a bike, and not that it was a powerhouse bike, just an 88 with a set of cams. You know, nothing too crazy, but I was curious on whether, hey, does a vented dipstick actually do anything power wise, or, you know, what does it do? And we did a bunch of runs back to back. The blue is actually before we put the vented dipstick on, and, or excuse me, the red is actually before we put the vented dipstick on, and I was getting consistent results. That one was probably the most variation, but as you can see, it definitely seemed to help. You know, it didn't necessarily peak any higher numbers, and I know I've talked to those guys over at Feuling, and they've responded back to me with, you know, better throttle response, you know, getting rid of the built-up crankcase pressures in the bottom end, you know, which is all true. We can actually see that there is an improvement. You know, down lower, you know, we're about 2,500 to 3,500. There's a bit of an increase, which I would say that's true with the throttle response being a little bit more responsive, having less pressure in that bottom end. So, some good results. Cool to actually see something work and be able to show it, because there's so many parts products out there that, you know, do they work? Yes, they might, but when you can actually put your finger on it and prove that it does work, that's pretty cool. So something to think about. And again, we'll probably test this again on something else, but just again, just to kind of show, I mean, that's quite significant for it doesn't seem like much, but for a part that you just screwed into your dipstick, I mean, that's pretty amazing. So cool info.